Today on Comicstorian, we're going to discover the origins of Venom 2099. This is the Comicstorian channel. I take comic books, I break them down into an audio narrative where I read you the base synopsis and the bare bones plot. We cut out a lot of the fluff, the extra plots, and the B plots, so you still have things to go by if you want to create a collection yourself. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Click the link down below, guys, if you want to buy this issue also. Today we're going to be continuing the origins of Venom 2099. Spider-Man 2099 was created by accident. We discovered his true origins a little while ago, but now a new villain has arisen, Venom 2099. And he's captured both of the women that Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, loves, and he's threatening to kill one of them. So let's see what happens with that and discover where he came from as we go into Spider-Man 2099 issues 37, 38, and 39.
Mickey, it's great seeing you again. This is great fun. One of them gets to live on your say, and the other dies. You've got 5 minutes to decide, or I'll just kill them both,
Venom declares as he's holding up both Dana and Xena with his tendrils. He grips the women tighter, and Xena shouts for Miguel, so he shouts back,
Xena! Then Dana dies!
Dana begins to scream as her skin begins to burn, but Miguel leaps across the room, using his talons to slice through Venom's arm. The monster howls in pain as Miguel grabs Dana and rushes her out of the room.
Cute, Miguel. Are you packing a concealed weapon? Bet mine is bigger,
the monster calls out. Miguel seals the office door, but Venom keeps slamming into it.
Do you think you can stop me? Do you think anything can stop me?
He snarls, and Miguel moves through the office, opening the secret exit that Victor Stone would use to escape to the parking garage and ushered Dana through it. He whirls back as he hears Xena calling out his name. I'm coming, Xena, he shouts. He knows that he has no time to change into his costume, and he hopes that seeing Miguel, not Spider-Man, attack him would throw Venom off. But as he comes out into the waiting room, the monster and Xena are both gone. A large hole ripped into the ceiling. The doors suddenly slide open as S.H.I.E.L.D. agents come rushing in. Finally! While you are taking your sweet time, Venom was taking a hostage. He could be anywhere. Find him! Miguel shouts at them and the officers nod, asking if they can use lethal force. Sure, whatever, just get him, Miguel shouts to them. Over in the parking garage, Dana rushes towards her car, but the ceiling suddenly caves in and Venom lands in front of her, Xena still wrapped in his arms. He whirls in surprise at Dana.
Well now, isn't this something? We're a threesome again.
Meanwhile, back over at Gabe's apartment, Conchetta puts down the smoking blaster pistol, surprised that she almost took her own life. Just because I shot Tyler Stone? Forget it. Let them put me on trial. They want to know why I did it? It'll be glorious telling them once and for all, she says with determination. Back over at the Alchemax security offices, the public eye officers get a lock on Venom's location. Traveling east in Dana's car with both women, Miguel orders them to shut down the maglevs and reroute all traffic before rushing out of the room. But the public eye officers reach them first, calling for Venom to surrender from their hoverbikes. Put up your hands where we can see them, the officer shouts, and Venom smiles, raising his hands, morphing them into spiked balls.
Always happy to cooperate,
he calls, launching the spike into the air, smashing it through the hoverbike, knocking the officers out of the sky.
And the crowd goes wild!
The officers fall in front of the car, and Xena quickly swerves to avoid him. But the car careens into the side of the highway, crashing through the barricade, sailing through the air. But Spider-Man is there, shooting his webs and catching the car, swinging down towards them, ordering them to get clear, but a black tendril wraps around his neck, squeezing tight as Venom flips him through the air, slamming him into the ground.
I've got these girls, Spider-Man. Go get your own!
He snarls as he grabs the women and rushes away. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents rush to the scene, spotting Venom as he heads to the Escher Club. Venom keeps laughing, pointing out that he and the girls are going to have one last dance.
And what partners? Miguel's lover, Tyler's lover, love all around.
But Dana twists in his grasp, poking him in the eye. Let her go! Xena's not Miguel's lover, I am, and she means nothing to Tyler, I do. With momentary confusion and pain allowing Xena to slip free as she quickly crawls to safety. Take your best shot, I'm not afraid to die, she shouts, but Venom merely glares at her.
All the more reason not to kill you.
And the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents storm in, believing that they have a clear shot at the monster, opening fire. The rounds rip through him as Spider-Man rushes into the room, but the monster is unfazed.
Your shots went through me, but don't worry, something behind me stopped them.
He snarls at the cops, motioning to Dana on the floor as blood is pooling around her as Venom morphs into sludge, slipping away. No! Spider-Man shouts, leaping through the air, grabbing Dana off the floor, pulling her close. So dark, I can't see. Miguel, is that you? She gasps, coughing up blood as he leans in and close. Yes, it's me, he whispers, and she gasps a few more words before dying in his arms. As he kneels over the body of Dana, cradling her to his chest, Xena stands nearby, trying to get through to him. But one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents steps forward. He reaches out, telling Spider-Man they need to take the body. But the wall crawler whirls around, backhanding the agent across the helmet, cracking his visor. You masked freak! You could have killed me! The agent shouts, moving for his weapon, but his partner orders him to stand down. Gives Spider-Man some space. There's a pause before Miguel puts down the body, looking up.
Where's Venom?
He hisses, but the agents don't know. He's dead. Wherever he is, he's dead, he snarls. Meanwhile, Conchetta is shocked as the mention of Dana's death airs on the news. The door to the apartment slides open as Gabe walks in, his mother getting to her feet, telling him what she just saw. But Gabe can only stare in shock. He turns to the news, watching footage of them taking Dana out of the club. Spider-Man standing nearby, anger filling him, and he slams his fist into the TV, shattering it. Conchetta tries to console him, but he rushes out of the apartment. Get away from me! Everyone get away! He shouts, cradling his hurt hand. Meanwhile, Venom rests on a rooftop, looking down at the city as Alchemax broadcasts a warning over the citywide sound system, warning them all to stay indoors and alert the authorities if they see the monster. Meanwhile, Miguel bursts into the lab at Alchemax, all business and anger. Okay, people, we've got the best minds here at Alchemax, so tell me what this creature is. One of the scientists steps forward, explaining that they do have a piece of the creature that they thought was dead. But it seems to be regenerating itself. We're studying it now, he tells O'Hara. But Miguel turns around, heading for the door. No, you're not. I am, he snaps. Downtown, Casey Nash continues to slip through the shadows of the back alleys of the city, but the voice keeps following, warning her that she has had time to think about his offer. The wall then explodes behind her, revealing the vulture's claws. Over in his hospital bed, Tyler Stone slowly begins to wake up. He calls out for Dana weakly, but a different shape steps out of the showers to meet him. Mr. Stone, I'm Jake Gallows. President Doom wanted me to handle this investigation. Do you know who your assailant is? But Tyler weakly shakes his head, informing Punisher 2099 that he has no idea who it was. He asks where Dana is, and Gallows pauses for a moment before answering. She's resting, he finally tells him. Over in the lab, Miguel is glaring at the piece of venom that they've had trapped in a test tube. The scientist behind him explains that the monster seems to be regenerating and mutating over time, that there are limitless opportunities for study of the creature. Miguel's eyes flash red as he leans forward. I don't want it studied. I want it dead! He shouts. And with that loud noise, the strange black sludge retracts and begins to shift away, shocking Miguel, who puts his hands up against the glass. I think it has problems with sound, he shouts again, getting a similar response. He turns back to the scientist, ordering them to try various frequencies of sound on the alien and see what happens. Miguel is then pulled out of the room as he is told that Xena has arrived. The woman is still distraught over what happened. This Venom madman, she begins, and Miguel shakes his head, correcting her. Not a man, a xenomorph, and we have a sample of it. He tells her. She's shocked, questioning how they're going to capture the creature, but anger flashes across Miguel's face again as he tells her, we aren't going to capture it. It's dead. He snaps at her, and Miguel pulls away from the conversation as the scientists call to him from the back of the room. They show him the tank where the piece of venom has died. You were right, Mr. O'Hara. Sound at a higher vibrational frequency. It's lost cohesion. They inform him and he nods, leaning forward, telling them, it's time for us to try and call out Venom to play. Downtown, Casey screams as the vulture pulls her into the air, but a powerful, colorful blast hits the villain, knocking him out of the sky. Let her go, vulture! The voice shouts, and Casey begins to fall through the air, but a colorful, goblin-like figure swoops in, grabbing her. Hang on, miss. This'll only take a second, he says as he drops her on a nearby roof, flying back into the air, launching another attack at Vulture 2099. She's off limits, Vulture! You hear me? Off limits! The goblin shouts. Meanwhile, over in Upper City, Venom stares around at the darkness of the city.
This game has been going on too long. It's time to take more pieces off the board.
He growls, but sound waves suddenly come blaring out of the city's sound system. He clutches his hands to his ears, screaming in pain, tumbling off of the rooftop, slamming hard into the ground.
What are you doing to us?
He bellows, roaring to his feet, slashing the nearest speaker. But the noise doesn't end, and people run in fear from the monster as he bellows for them to make the pain end.
How about we turn you off?
Spider-Man shouts as he leaps down, punching Venom in the face, and Venom whirls around on him. But he's weakened, and Spider-Man hits him again and again.
I see you're not shapeshifting to escape. Could it be, you murdering slime, that it's all you could do to hold yourself together right now?
He asks, punctuating each word with a blow, until greenish blood drips from Venom's wounds. The city's cameras capture the action, broadcasting it over the news, and everyone watches as Spider-Man beats the tar out of Venom, cheering him on. Spider-Man slams Venom into the ground again, grabbing him by the throat.
Do you have any idea who you killed?
He snarls at him, but his eyes widen in shock as he realizes that Venom is a man underneath the suit. The black sludge begins to slide off, weakened by the sound.
I give up. Just turn the sound off. It's tearing us apart!
Venom moans, and with that he holds up his human hands, begging Spider-Man for mercy. And the wall crawler hesitates for one moment, not knowing the city is cheering for him to kill the monster. But images of Dana flash across his mind as he reaches down, wrapping his hands around Venom's throat.
Human or not, I will not allow a monster to live.
He hisses at the man beneath the symbiote, but the black goo slides off the man's face, and Miguel's eyes widen in shock.
You!
He gasps. It's the next day that Miguel O'Hara walks through Alchemax, his fist tightening as he greets everyone who tells him good morning. And by the time he reaches the lab, he merely snaps his reply, stepping into the room. Heartbeat remains accelerated. Subject remains agitated. One of the scientists comments as Miguel looks in the test tubes that separate the two subjects from each other.
You can shove your clearly agitated and let me out of here. I'll get you. I'll get all of you.
Kron Stone shouts. The scientists look at Miguel, pointing out that the subject hasn't been very helpful.
Well, we'll have to do something about that, won't we?
Miguel says quietly to himself, turning to the other scientists, ordering them to give him the room with only Kron. He steps forward, asking the man how he is, since Kron Stone was listed as dead a few years ago.
Bite me!
Stone snaps, and Miguel shakes his head, pointing out the fact that the only reason Kron is still alive is because his bond with the symbiote is of scientific interest.
You'd be a lot less smug with my hand around your throat!
Kron snaps at him.
You're gutless, O'Hara. Always were.
Miguel nods, walking over and pressing the button to release Kron.
You and I. You think you can take me without your symbiote? You win, you walk. I win, you start talking.
Miguel says as he removes his glasses, and Kron doesn't hesitate, rushing at his rival, but Miguel is too fast and moves, grabbing Kron, throwing him into a desk. But Kron comes back again, taking a swing that Miguel easily dodges, hitting him hard in the ribs, throwing him down again, blood beginning to drip out of Kron's mouth as he struggles to his feet. But Miguel moves in quickly, hitting him again and again. He knees him in the stomach, doubling the man over.
I'll talk!
Kron begins to gasp, and Miguel throws him to the ground. I know. This is about all the people you hurt, all the people who will never do anything again because of you. I don't want you to talk, Kron.
I want you to scream, and we'll build from there.
He begins to rain blow after blow on the man. Meanwhile, downtown, Casey is sitting in her apartment with Raph, trying to explain how the new goblin saved her from the vulture. But they're interrupted as there's a tap at the window, and she opens it to reveal the goblin crouching in her fire escape.
Hello, dear. Do you remember me?
He says with a smile, but Raph is moving, bringing up his blaster, preparing to fire. But the goblin throws a colorful ball of energy that cracks against the blaster, causing it to glow with a strange energy, forcing Raph to drop it.
You'll be able to pick up your gun in a few minutes,
the goblin explains to him casually. He then stands before Casey, informing her that he means to bring about a new order in downtown, to bring peace to the area so that they can fight against Alchemax, reclaim what is theirs. Of course, with you and Spider-Man working together. She begins to smile, but the goblin shakes his head, moving towards the window.
Forget that corporate stooge,
he says, but she doesn't believe him.
Then I'll make sure that he confesses personally,
the goblin says as he steps out of the window and leaps into the air, flying away. I don't trust him, Raph says, as they both watch him fly away. Me either, but I don't know who to trust anymore, and I'd like to find out more about him, she says. Back at the lab, Miguel steps out of the room, putting his glasses back on. I think you'll find him more cooperative, he says as he walks by his scientist. And they walk into the lab to find Kron back in his tube, his face already beginning to swell from the beating he took.
What do you want to know?
He gasps at them. Later, Miguel arrives at Zena's apartment, greeted by her robot servant that looks like JFK. He finds her inside. Hey, Zine, how you holding up? He asks, and she cradles herself, pointing out that she is sad that Dana died, but that it just as easily could have been her. She gets up, making them both some tea as she tells him how brave and quick to sacrifice herself Dana was. Why am I still here? She shouts, throwing the tea against the wall, but Miguel gets up and holds her, pointing out that it's okay to be confused, scared, and happy to be alive. Xena nods, turning around, telling Miguel that she's happy that he's taking the job at Alchemex. Forget I ever criticized you. Who am I to tell someone how to live their life? She says with a sigh. Downtown, the goblin lands on a rooftop, ordering the Vulture to come out of the shadows.
Did our little act convince her?
Vulture asks with a smile, and Goblin nods, explaining that they need Casey Nash on their side.
A lot of people respect her downtown,
he tells the Vulture. Over in his office, Miguel is about to watch the hollow confession of Kron Stone, explaining how he first came into contact with the symbiote, but he's interrupted as his office door slides open to reveal the priest from the church in downtown, the one that he saved as Spider-Man not long ago. Father Jennifer, long way from downtown, he says as he greets her. She seems confused, wondering when they met. Well, not met exactly. I dropped by your church one day, he tells her, realizing that she's never seen Miguel, only Spider-Man. She steps into his office, pointing out that she knew that he and her sister were close. Sister? She looks at him confused, explaining that she is Dana's sister. She never mentioned to me? She asks, sadness in her eyes. Miguel tries to recover, telling her that Dana mentioned that she had a sister named Jenny. She mentioned you a few times in the beginning, but not at all later on, he tells her. And she nods, explaining that they had a falling out, but she had come here to seek answers on why her sister was killed. And Miguel motions to the hollow, telling her that he's just about to watch it. On it, Kron, who is visibly bruised from his beating, explains that he was shot by the Punisher and left for dead in the sewers. His body floated for a time as he began to slip into death, and he came into contact with the symbiote, who had been hiding for an unknown amount of time, who had mutated since his early days during the heroic age. Once it had begun to heal Kron's body, they had fried a homeless man with their newfound powers, leaving Kron's ID on him so that the authorities would believe him to be dead. They hid back down in the sewers, regaining their strength and getting used to their new host, until we heard that my father had been shot. We couldn't let him die without taking one last shot at killing him first, Kron says with a sneer. The hollow ends and Father Jennifer lowers her head, asking for the Lord to forgive Kron. And Miguel whirls on her, shouting that he is a monster. Because of him, your sister is dead. My lover is dead. He deserves to burn forever, he shouts, and she nods her head once more, explaining that if he does, it will be God's will. And then she leans in close. And raise your voice at me again, and I'll knock your teeth out, she snaps. Jennifer then turns to walk out of the office, and the intercom beeps, informing Miguel that he has a call from his brother. Put him through, Miguel orders, turning as his brother's head appears in the hollow projector. I need you, or I need him, Gabe quickly explains. And in a short time, Miguel finds himself swinging through the downtown area in his Spider-Man costume, still trying to figure out why Gabe would tell him exactly what is going on and why he needed him in downtown. What he doesn't realize is that the Goblin is swooping towards him from the shadows. And there you have it, the origins of Venom 2099, but we are already slipping into Green Goblin 2099 and more Vulture 2099. So if you want to know what happens with them, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and join us next Wednesday for the next episode of 2099.